President Obama will be meeting with families of those killed and injured during last week's shooting at Umpqua Community College. The private meeting, which will take place on Friday, comes as the president continues his push for gun control. This is what Ben Carson had to say about guns on Fox and Friends this morning.
With all of these gun control plans, I'm a very reasonable person. I don't get in a corner and just, stonewall. If you can show me how that's going to stop these things, I'm willing to listen to it. Guns don't kill people. And the Second Amendment is extremely important.
Well, many are saying this president, or this will be President Obama's last chance to take away our guns. Joining me now, Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clarke. Sheriff Clarke, there's word late today that the Democrats in Congress will also be pushing for some sort of amendment for gun control. Obviously, the president not making any bones about it. He says he will politicize this. He came right out just minutes after the shooting. What's your assessment of this last, perhaps, chance for the president to erase the Second Amendment?
It's pretty evident to me that he doesn't have any public support for any further gun control in this country. We have enough gun control in this country. Charles, the real intent of the left and the Democrat and the anti-gun crowd is not for reduced violence and reducing amounts of mass shootings. It's a slippery slope toward gun confiscation. They don't want gun control. They want gun confiscation, and they know they have to do it in a stair-step fashion. So they come through with this idea called universal background check, which is nothing more than a smokescreen, okay? Nothing that has gone on in the United States in terms of mass shootings has had anything to do with background checks. Adam Lanza, who shot up Sandy Hook School, he didn't have to have a background check. He killed his mom and stole her guns. The guy in the Colorado theater, he passed a background check, as did the guy in Wisconsin who shot up the Sikh temple. This has nothing to do with anything universal. The last time we heard the word universal out of the left's mouth, it was universal health care. Where did that get us? It got us higher premiums and even fewer people covered. So I'm not willing to sit down like Dr. Carson is and listen to any of this, because what the left does is they redefine phrases. They make up statistics to bolster their argument. You can't have a reasonable conversation with people like that.
So when they say, quote, when they're using this term common sense gun laws, because we heard the president say it many times, we've heard Hillary Clinton use it as well. It's all in your mind a smokescreen, even the idea perhaps of finding a way to address mental illness with respect to guns.
Well, of course it is, and they're good at it. I kind of admire the left for that. They come up with these buzz phrases. These are all poll-tested, and they're focus group, common sense gun legislation. We have common sense gun legislation. There's certain things in this world that we're just not going to be able to eliminate. This is evil. It's evil, and it's personified with what happened in Oregon a couple of weeks ago. So, I'm smarter than that, and the American people are smarter than that, too. The way they go about it, they're very stealth, the left. They're very stealth in the way that they approach these things. They try to catch people by surprise. But again, I'll tell you what, if there's a presidential candidate on the right in the Republican field that I hear starting to even intimate that they're willing to sit down to discuss common sense gun control legislation, then I know that they're being duped, and I know that they are falling for it, and I'll excoriate them.
How about this, Sheriff Clarke? A push on the other side of this argument. How about more gun freedom? Where's that coming from? I honestly believe that we all should have the rights, and particularly in these major cities, everyone should be carrying a gun. The teachers should have guns. The people in New York City, because I grew up in a crime-filled area where the thugs had all the guns, and I was scared. People were afraid. At one point, even the police were afraid. How can we turn the narrative around so that everyone can protect themselves? Because I think that's what the founding fathers had in mind.
Sure, with an effective counter message. Look, I'm for anybody that wants to own a gun lawfully under the system that we have set up to have one. I'm not for everybody having one. What I mean by that is some people aren't comfortable with it. That's fine. The Second Amendment is an individual right. Look at Otis McDonald in the city of Chicago. An elderly man who got tired of being victimized by crime as his neighborhood turned over from being a peaceful one to being crime-ridden. And he couldn't under Chicago's strict gun laws. Finally, the Supreme Court stepped in. They had enough. They held their decision the same. And they saw right through these attempts not toward reducing violence, not toward reducing mass shootings, but toward gun confiscation. I'm not going to hear anything of it. I took an oath to uphold the Constitution, and I'm tired of the Second Amendment being treated like the bastard child of the Bill of Rights. It is not. It is about freedom and liberty. And Charles, you know who knew that as well? Frederick Douglass, abolitionist, and Ida B. Wells, who knew that until black people could share in a Second Amendment right to be able to defend themselves against lynchings and mob killings, the 13th Amendment wasn't going to help them. That's why we needed the 14th Amendment, which then meant that the Second Amendment applied to black people, newly freed slaves.
So what do you make now? You just talked about Chicago. In my mind, it's a very apologetic media, mainstream media, and liberal narrative that actually enables or actually fans the sort of mass killing of black on blacks in places like Chicago. How do we change that narrative? How do we get to be some honest shame? Listen, you can't kill another person no matter who they are, but it really sounds really dumb when you kill someone who looks just like you for maybe wearing a red bandana.
Well, first of all, people know that you can't kill another human being. If they didn't, they wouldn't flee the scene. And it's the first thing they do after they fire a gun is they run. They run because they know that it's wrong. So what we can do is get rid of this inane idea of sentencing reform, of prison reform, of criminal justice reform, because all that does is normalizes criminal behavior. Who does that hurt? Good law-abiding black people that have to live in these violent, crime-ridden neighborhoods. So that's one way, is to swat that thing down. But by the same time, or at the same time, Charles, stiffer sentences and more certain sentences for people who are involved in gun crimes, those things are tested. Those things will work in terms of better protecting people and of reducing violence in our urban centers.